If you saw me walking down the street today, the most you'd probably take away is that I'm short and have brown hair. You wouldn't think that there's anything different about me. You wouldn't say, "She suffers from mental illness." And even if you did, you'd most likely be saying it from a place of fear and judgment, not care and concern. Stigma related to mental illness prevents people from seeking treatment, makes those that are suffering feel alienated from the rest of the world, and even affects medical options and legislation. By telling my story, I hope to shed a light on the stigma related to mental illness. The summer before I started 8th grade, I began to feel unable to go to sleep at night. I would lie awake for hours, thoughts racing with the excitement of tomorrow's possibilities. But I didn't think much of it. I also began a fitness and diet regimen that at the time seemed healthy and perfectly normal. Knowing what I know now, I can call what I experienced an eating disorder. The symptoms that had begun to be a part of my daily life didn't seem anything out of the ordinary, especially considering that I didn't know what the warning signs of mental illness, or even what mental illness was. And that's because no one talks about it. In 5th grade, we are taught sex ed, yet there isn't a single word uttered about mental health. I understand that from a safety standpoint, teaching kids about safe sex could benefit their lives, but I argue that if children had even a basic understanding of mental health, lives would be saved. These health topics are both incredibly important. So I ask, why are they being treated so differently? If I had had a basic understanding of mental health, I might have never come so close to death. By my 13th birthday, it was clear that something inside me was wrong. My mania had started out as an unbound energy and excitement that made me see both my life and my dreams more vividly. At that time, college seemed like the ultimate aspiration that I would work tirelessly to achieve. By the middle of fall, I had started missing school, being unable to do my homework while lying to the teachers about it, and losing all the friends I had. I still lived in that heightened state of energy, but dark walls closed in on me, making me feel as if I was constantly living in a life-or-death situation. Due to my inability to control my emotional states, my friends became spooked and raced out of my life, leaving me to fight what was happening on my own. I began feeling afraid and terrified because I didn't know what to do and there was no one to turn to. And to give you some insight on my emotional trauma, what was happening inside my body was 1,000,000 times worse than the devastating events that were happening on a social level. I started hallucinating and would see a woman in a white dress when I was alone in my room. I also began having panic attacks daily that would last for hours, and the only way I could get out of them was through self-harm. I attended school every day in a t-shirt, displaying my blood-soaked arms. I never did this for attention. I was just too unwell to think of covering up my wounds. What I find truly alarming is that this went on for months, and no one said anything. I don't know if it was because people were scared, or they didn't know what it was, or maybe they just didn't care. All I wanted was for someone to ask if I was okay. But a more daunting question was stuck in my head. How does someone ask for help when they have absolutely no idea what's wrong? I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I accepted it along with all the medications and therapies that followed. No matter how compliant I was, there was no stopping the progression of my illness. We had caught it too late. And on May 5th, 2013, my ask for help came out as a deafening cry. I was admitted to Mesa Vista Psychiatric Hospital. Although I was fully willing to be admitted after a failed suicide attempt, All I knew about psych hospitals was the demeaning and misleading images presented of loony bins in the most popular horror films. But all those pictures of people who had lost their humanity and sadistic nurses who thrived off of your pain were nothing but pictures. I was in a place full of humanity and genuine caring. There were doctors and nurses who wanted nothing more than my well-being. I entered the hospital willingly. I was a danger to myself, and it saved my life. What I later learned was how many people refuse to seek treatment, often because of the false rumors they hear about psych hospitals, or they're afraid that someone they know will find out. But the most disheartening reason people don't seek treatment is, how do you ask for help when you have absolutely no idea what's wrong? These reasons may seem small and silly. They are. But these silly reasons are accountable for a lot of lost lives. Stigma and mental illness is accountable for a lot of lost lives. Not only is mental illness stigmatized, but also the treatment options for it. If someone had cancer, they wouldn't feel ashamed to have chemotherapy. If someone had diabetes, they wouldn't feel ashamed to take insulin. So why, if someone has a chemical imbalance in their brain, are they ashamed to seek out treatment? Possibly the most stigmatized treatment is the one I credit with saving my life. I was stuck in a deep depression for a long time. It left me so unwell that I was hospitalized for 2 months. Nothing was helping me. I was trying every medication and therapy, but we saw no change. So my psychiatrist suggested something radical: ECT. ECT stands for electroconvulsive therapy. You may know it as shock therapy. ECT has a negative reputation because it is often portrayed as inhumane and torturous. The media neglects to show what it really is and how many people benefit from it yearly. It is a safe, often life-saving procedure, but no one wants to know the truthful facts. Even many medical professionals view it as a disturbing act, and that's because no one talks about it or teaches it. After having ECT, I finally had a glimpse of happiness. The depression I had been in was so severe that I was nearly catatonic and had no quality of life. ECT was the only thing that could pull me out of the dark. The hospital I was in was one of very few that offered it and would fight for a minor to receive it. Most hospitals don't have the option for it because stigma has scared people away, just like it has done for many other life-saving resources. After trying just about every medication, a 1.5 years of missed school, and 6 hospitalizations, I finally became stable. I was thrown out of that tornado that was my mental illness, only to find the ruins of my past life. I had no friends, no academic future, and I was constantly in fear that I would relapse. Mental illness and the stigma associated with it took a lot away from me, but I was lucky. I was lucky that I had a family who constantly cared for me. I was lucky that my family could pay the exorbitant costs of my treatments. I was lucky that there were good treatment centers near me. I was lucky, but not everyone is. There are a lot of people out there fighting for their lives with much less than I had. And I am sure they are experiencing all the same ways that stigma added to their illness, just like I did. But what we can do as a society, what every single person here can do to change how we look at it, to change how we look at people with it, that's how we're going to make it better. That's how we're going to help those people who don't have what I had. Because I am alive today because my given circumstances were in my favor. if someone had the tools to understand that something inside them was wrong, they would ask for help. If someone wasn't afraid to hide their illness, they would ask for help. If you saw me walking down the street today, you wouldn't know I have mental illness. If I wore a badge proclaiming I have bipolar disorder, maybe only half of you would notice. Badge or no badge, it's who I am, and I feel I have the choice to share that with you or not. But wouldn't it be great if the other 450 million people in the world living with mental illness had that choice too? Thank you.